Hey there and welcome to the video. Today I want to show you how I capture my digital audio workstation. In this case today it's going to be Logic, as well as my microphone input, and record those into OBS for maximum ability of editing afterwards. Now before I start, if you like what I'm doing here, please hit the bell, subscribe, like all that great stuff. So the end result of what I want is a video file with an audio track that contains whatever the output of my DAW is. This is going to be Logic today, as well as an audio track of my microphone. And I want these two audio tracks separate. And the reason I want this is because I want to be able to edit my spoken audio separately from my DAW audio. And I don't want them to be on the same track because, if I'm speaking and maybe I'm not speaking loud enough over the music that's playing in Logic, or maybe there's some noise on my microphone that I want to get rid of. If everything's on one audio track, I don't really have great flexibility to do that. So this solves those problems. And I've seen other places on the internet and on YouTube where there's tutorials on how to capture Logic and capture your DAW with OBS. And, I've had a lot of struggles with those and found them a little bit overly complicated in some ways. Now I'm using the Apollo X4 as my audio interface. So the output from Logic is using the Apollo and my microphone is using the Apollo, but I'm still going to end up with two separate audio tracks. Now, a couple of caveats before I get into exactly how to set this up. First is that this is going to be macOS only. I don't use Windows, so I'm not exactly sure how you would do it on there. So I apologize if you're on Windows. I don't have any advice for you. Also, this does require a piece of software that costs $99. Now, I know that's a lot of money for a lot of people for software, and I get it. But for me, even some of the other tutorials that I looked at required purchasing software, and they required running multiple different applications to accomplish this. The software called Loopback, which is by Rogue Amoeba, is great. It's a one-time fee of $99. There's no subscription or anything like that. You buy it once and you'll have it for life. If later on there's an upgrade fee for a new version, you don't have to do that. You just stay on your original version. So again, I realize that's a lot of money and a lot of people don't like paying for software, but I don't mind, and I think more people should do it. Just as whatever you're creating, you would want people to pay you for that service or product. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get into the setup here. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is Loopback. And Loopback is really simple and straightforward. The way that you set this up is you have this list of devices and then sources and outputs, and you can also have these monitors. Now I just have two devices. I have a device created for Logic, and I just added a source of Logic Pro when I created this. And you can see the stereo outputs of Logic are just going to my stereo outputs of the output channels. Now the next device I have here is called SM7B. And really what this is just one input from my Universal Audio X4, and that single input is going out to both channels 1 and 2. This is really easy to set up. You want to create a new virtual device, select this pass-through, click delete, then go to sources. In my case, this would be Universal Audio Thunderbolt. You can see by default it links stereos 1 and 2, but I don't want that, so I'm going to select both of those and click delete, and I'm going to drag, this is 6 over to the stereo outputs, and that would be my microphone setup. Now I'm just going to delete this because I already have this done. Okay, that's all we need to do in Loopback, and we don't need to keep Loopback running. We can just quit it. Once we set this up, it's done. So what that's done is it's created some audio devices for us that we can actually hook up into OBS, and that's exactly what I've done. I have two sources here, and you'll see if I do select an audio input capture, then my options here, I have Logic Capture and SM7B, and I have already added those right here. And you can see here my Logic Capture and SM7B. So now inside OBS, remember I said we want each of these to be its own output audio track. So there's a couple steps we have to do. We go to Settings, Output, and Recording. And because I'm currently recording, these options are disabled, but if you weren't recording, they would be enabled. And you see where it says audio track here, you want to check 2 and 3, or how many ever audio tracks you want. You could do this to have 5 separate audio tracks, how many ever you want. All right, so I have 2 and 3 checked. And that's all we need to do within the settings. Now I'm going to go up here to the audio mixer, and I'm just going to click on one of these and click Advanced Audio Properties. And you'll see I have both of my audio input sources here. And for my Logic Capture, I'm monitoring and outputting because I want to be able to hear Logic through OBS. My SM7B, I'm actually hearing through the Apollo console app. So your interface may differ. You may need to monitor this, but just make sure if you do monitor, you select monitor and output. Otherwise, you won't actually be recording it. And then the next bit of magic here is tracks, and you want to match up the tracks that you selected in settings here. And so my Logic Capture is going to go out to track 2, and SM7B is going to go out to track 3. And so now, if I go to Logic here, you can see I have my song and I can play. And you can also hear me talk over the audio here. And these are going to be completely separate streams. So if for some reason my voice is too quiet here or too loud or whatever, I can change the voice of, or the, excuse me, I can change the level of my voice or the level of the audio playing through Logic. Okay, and so the next thing, when you get this file, and you may just open it in QuickTime and you'll wonder, wait a second, I'm not actually hearing any audio. And for whatever reason, QuickTime doesn't pick up on the multiple audio tracks, and so it just doesn't play any audio. But I will show you here, if we go into Final Cut Pro, and this is a clip that I had created previously, you can see over here under audio configuration that there are actually 2 stereo files here. And this top one is the Logic audio, and this bottom one is my dialogue. So that's how you set this up. I hope you found this useful. For me, this is the easiest way to do this by far because it only requires one application outside of OBS. I set it up once and I'm done, and it's super stable and super reliable. Again, if you like what I've shown you here, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that great stuff to be notified when I post more videos. Thanks.